I declare war. A while ago, I did a video calling out those buck dancing, ass kissing, shoe shining Uncle Toms who met with Donald Trump. Those sellout pastors. And today, I'm calling out another group of house Negroes. This group of house Negroes are worse than those pastors. They're worse. And I'll explain to you why in this video. First of all, it's important that people understand the terminology that I use. I call these people house Negroes. That's a term that was coined by the great leader Malcolm X. In his speech, The Message to the Grassroots, he said this: there were two kinds of slaves, the house Negro and the field Negro. The house Negroes, they lived in the house with the master. They dressed pretty good. They ate good because they ate his food, what he left. They lived in the attic or the basement, but still they lived near the master, and they loved the master more than the master loved himself. They would give their life to save the master's house quicker than the master would. If the master said, "We got a good house here," the house Negro would say, "Yeah, we got a good house here." Whenever the master said we, he said we. That's how you can tell a house Negro. If the master's house caught on fire, the house Negro would fight harder to put out the blaze than the master would. If the master got sick, the house Negro would say, "What's the matter, boss? We sick? We sick." He identified himself with his master more than the master identified with himself. That's the house Negro mentality. And that's the mentality of those buck dancing, shoe shining, ass kissing, handkerchief head sellout Negroes today. Those Negroes in the Congressional Black Caucus who stood before the world to support Hillary Clinton. Such a display of disgrace. Such a despicable minstrel show. Why do I say this? Why do I call these people out? Because if anybody knows the histories of the Clintons, the history of the Clintons, they know the devastating impact that the Clintons have had on the black community. But yet you had these damn house Negroes who are ready to go out and pick cotton for Hillary Clinton. They're ready to go out and be mouthpieces for Hillary Clinton. They're going to go all the way to South Carolina to try to convince our black people, our black brothers and sisters, to vote for a woman who promoted the most detrimental policies that have ever affected our people. See, Donald Trump has said offensive things, racist things, and for that reason I condemn him and everything that he stands for. But what Hillary Clinton has done is worse. She didn't just make some statements. She supported policies that have destroyed our community. She supported the policies of her husband, Bill Clinton, policies that led to the mass incarceration of black people. Modern day slavery. That's what mass incarceration equals. When someone is incarcerated, they are in a state of slavery. And Michelle Alexander, the legal scholar, wrote a brilliant and powerful piece in The Nation magazine entitled Why Hillary Clinton Does Not Deserve the Black Vote. She pointed out how Bill Clinton presided over the largest increase in federal and state prison inmates of any president in American history. She talked about how he escalated the war on drugs, which was nothing but a war on black people. She talked about how Clinton supported the 100-to-1 sentencing disparity between crack cocaine and powder cocaine, a disparity that has been used to incarcerate black people at record numbers and rates. The Clinton administration championed or supported the three strikes law, which increased the incarceration rates substantially. The Clinton administration created dozens of new federal capital crimes. They mandated life sentencing for some three-time offenders. When Clinton left office, as pointed out in this article, the U.S. had the highest incarceration rate in the world. And African Americans made up 80 to 90% of all drug offenders sent to prison. Even though African Americans are no more likely to use or sell illegal drugs than whites. Now, some people, as pointed out in this article, may say, well, she was just the first lady at the time. She wasn't the president. But as Michelle Alexander points out, Hillary Clinton campaigned for Bill Clinton. She lobbied for legislation. She lobbied for the crime bill that led to this mass incarceration. This woman described black people as super predators. And this is the woman that these buck dancing house Negroes are rallying behind. It's a disgrace. It's despicable. It's a damn shame. And then you had John Lewis get up there cooning his ass off. This man has thrown his legacy in the trash in order to please a politician, in order to placate her, in order to shine her shoes and kiss her ass. He's thrown away his valuable legacy by supporting this woman. John Lewis said this. He said, I never saw him, talking about Bernie Sanders. I never saw him. I never met him. I was a chair of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee for 3 years from 1963 to 1966. I was involved in the sit-ins, the Freedom Ride, the March on Washington, the March from Selma to Montgomery, and directed the Voter Education Project for 6 years. But I met Hillary Clinton. I met President Clinton. So he's saying that he never met Bernie Sanders. And he's calling into question Bernie Sanders' commitment or involvement in the civil rights movement. He's putting on this coon show for Hillary Clinton. Going out of his way to shuck and jive for her. Obviously, he's not going to see every single participant in the civil rights movement. Thousands upon thousands of people participated in that movement. Just because he didn't happen to meet Bernie Sanders personally, or he didn't quote unquote see Bernie Sanders, that doesn't mean that Bernie Sanders wasn't involved in the civil rights movement. His involvement is documented in photographs. So what is he talking about? So what is John Lewis talking about? Why is he going out his way to shuck and jive, buck dance, and shoe shine for Hillary? This is a disgrace. It's outrageous. See, it would be one thing if Hillary Clinton did not have this horrible track record when it comes to black people. Not only did her and her husband help lock up more black people than any other president in U.S. history, their policies has a devastating economic impact on the black community. Despite all their talks about improving the economy and all that stuff, as Michelle Alexander points out in her article, the jobless rate among black men in their 20s who did not have a college education rose to the highest level ever under the Clinton administration. It rose to 42%, according to Michelle Alexander. Also, as I pointed out in another video, the Clintons ended welfare as we knew it. Welfare is a safety net for those people who are experiencing hard, difficult times. People who are in need of food, clothing, and shelter. Well, the Clinton administration got rid of welfare as we knew it. They replaced it with 5-year limits on welfare assistance. They replaced federal funding with state block grants. They slashed welfare funding by $54 billion. They slashed funding for public housing. And according to this article, extreme poverty doubled under Clinton. And we know that black people were disproportionately affected by all of those policies. We know that a lot of jobs left black communities as a result of trade agreements that the Clinton administration supported, backed, and promoted. So I can't understand how any intelligent black person could stand behind and support this woman. It's clear that black conservatives aren't the only sellouts. They aren't the only house Negroes. They aren't the only Sambos. You got Democratic sellouts and Sambos as well. And it's about time that we stop listening to these people. That we make decisions for ourselves. That we research information for ourselves and come to our own conclusion based on the evidence. These people have no more credibility. These people are nothing but puppets. These people are nothing but modern day house Negroes. They are a disgrace. And I will just say this. It's my understanding that the people who have publicly announced their support for Hillary Clinton, they don't represent the entire Congressional Black Caucus. They represent the Congressional Black Caucus Political Action Committee. They're members of the caucus who weren't even consulted about this decision to endorse Hillary Clinton. And there's members who support Bernie Sanders, members like Ellison and Barbara Lee. She actually decided not to make any kind of endorsement. So I just want to commend those two Congress people for having the courage to be independent, for having the courage to stand alone, to not go along with the minstrel show. So those are my thoughts about this issue. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace. And before I go, I have to mention one other thing, and that's this. I was watching a clip on CNN. It was a clip of Atlanta Mayor Kasim saying that Bernie Sanders is dismissive of President Obama. And I'm going to tell you what's really going on here. Essentially, what they're doing is they're using surrogates like this guy to try to play the race card without directly doing so. They're basically trying to say, well, Bernie Sanders is being dismissive of the first black president. Let's address that. Nobody has been more dismissive of Obama than Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. It's like people have a short memory. It's like they have all of a sudden developed amnesia. They don't remember the 2008 election and the campaign. They don't remember Bill Clinton referring to President Obama's campaign as a fairy tale. They don't remember Bill Clinton dismissing President Obama's victories in South Carolina by saying, well, Jesse Jackson won South Carolina in 1984 and 1988. Basically saying, well, it's no big deal. He's just a black candidate. He's not going to win the election. And we got to remember that it was the Clintons that blew all kinds of racial, white, racist dog whistles during that campaign. They talked about how Obama didn't have support among hard-working Americans, white Americans. That's a direct quote from Hillary Clinton. So it is, absurd for this man to try to suggest that because Bernie Sanders has political and ideological differences with Obama, that somehow he's dismissive of Obama. It's absurd for him to even raise that point, given the fact of how dismissive the Clintons were towards President Obama. I mean, have they forgotten that the Clintons put out a photograph of President Obama, or then Senator Obama, dressed in African attire with a turban on to try to suggest that he's some kind of terrorist or some kind of foreigner? Have these people forgotten? These same people were speaking out against the racism of the Clinton campaign back then. But all of a sudden, now they're silent. Now all of a sudden, these people want to go out and pick cotton for Hillary Clinton. It's a disgrace. It's a damn shame.